Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, Catherine Cooks. Today I'm going to be cooking 5 Japanese dinners. Really easy and simple, but super tasty. I love Japanese food and so I wanted to be able to cook it at home. So come along and watch me cook 5 Japanese dinners. Like and subscribe if you want to see more of this type of content, or let me know what you would like to see. So the first dish I'm going to do is a salmon dish. Salmon and fish is eaten a lot in Japan. So I'm just going to use my steamer, which has 3 tiers, to make this meal, which makes it really easy. So here is the seasoning for my salmon. I have ginger, garlic, soy sauce and lemon on top. So that's going in the bottom tier of the steamer. Then on top I just have some cut up broccoli. And then on top of that, on the final tier, I have some eggs that are going to steam and some cut up carrots. So I'll just steam that for about 20 minutes and then that will all be ready. So now I'm just making some miso soup to go along with this meal. So I've cut up these potatoes quite small. It's about half a potato. I have some mung beans. And so I'm just adding a little bit of those into the miso soup. The good thing about miso soup is that you can add a lot of different types of things to your liking, or just to change it each time. So today it's just going to be potato and bean sprouts, and so I'm just adding some water to that, filling up that pot with water. Then I'll bring it to a boil and I'll just let the potatoes cook, which will take about 10 minutes. And I'm also going to add some tofu into the miso soup. So I've just cut up the tofu, just need a little bit for the miso soup, and I'm storing the rest for another meal this week. And I have some green onion there as well to go into the miso soup. So there it is, it's cooking away. Now I'm going to add some of my homemade chicken stock that I keep in the freezer. So I make a big batch of chicken stock. I freeze them in individual portions like this. And so I just have 2 left, so I thought I'd use them up and it would just add a nice flavour to the soup, and it's also really good for you. So I'm just going to add 2 of those into here and they'll melt in there. Put the lid on and then I'll add my miso soup, which is this one here. So I have miso soup paste. Now before I do that, I'm just checking the meal. So the salmon was ready after 20 minutes, so I took that out and just let that cool. It did break apart a little bit. So now I'm adding some wakame seaweed into the miso soup. It's just dried little bits of seaweed and then they expand when they're cooked. So you don't need that much, just maybe 2 handfuls, and it ends up being a lot of seaweed. That's also really healthy and just makes a nice taste, and that's traditionally in miso soup. So now I've taken out the eggs. I left them in for 5 more minutes after the salmon, just to make sure they were fully cooked and hard boiled. So I'm just rinsing them into cold water. I'll leave them until I'm ready to peel them. And now I'm going to use a heaped tablespoon of the miso paste. So I have this little strainer, and it just helps to dissolve the miso soup slowly, so that it's all dissolved properly. So you just stir that around inside the strainer and then you put it to low once you're adding the miso soup. And then here is the final meal. So I have rice, I have the miso soup with all the yummy things inside. We have some kimchi there to go on the side, the broccoli, the carrots and the salmon. So here is my second meal. I'm going to be making tonkatsu, which is breaded pork fried. So here's my setup. So I'll just bread each one. So I have the pork schnitzel, putting it in the flour and shaking it off, adding it into the egg, and then adding a good layer of the panko breadcrumbs. So once I've breaded them all, then I will just shallow fry them in a frying pan. So I've got some canola oil. I'm adding some to the bottom of the pan. Not enough to deep fry it, but a bit more than just a little bit, just so it gets nice and fried. So I just tested there if the oil was hot with a little bit of the panko breadcrumbs, and if it sizzles then it is. So I'm doing 3 at a time and then nice and sizzly. So here they are cooking. So flip them over once they're golden brown, about 2 to 3 minutes each side, and cook them on medium high. Shake the oil around a little bit once you turn them over so the other side gets nice and golden and crispy as well. And then once they're all cooked, just lay them on the paper towel or a rack to let some of that excess oil come off and to cool. I'm just going to make the sauce now, the Tonkatsu sauce. So you can buy it from an Asian shop, but it's really easy to make at home. So you just need 3 tablespoons of tomato sauce, and then 1 tablespoon of oyster sauce, and 2 tablespoons of Worcester sauce, which is kind of the main base of the flavour, and then just 2 teaspoons of sugar. Give that a good mix, and there is your super tasty sauce for the pork. So here is the final meal. We've got some broccoli and some shredded cabbage on the side. Traditionally this is served with shredded cabbage and rice, but to make this low carb-ish, I'm not having the rice. So then I'm just topping it with that Tonkatsu sauce, and really yummy meal. Super tasty. I'm just going to top off the cabbage with this roasted sesame Japanese dressing. And if you eat this in Japan, you have bottomless cabbage with lots of yummy different sauces. So it's a really tasty treat in Japan, and lots of people like it. So one of my favourites. Now to make the cabbage, I shred up a lot of cabbage at once and then I just store it. It stores really well for a long time in a good container. And I use this peeler, which you can get from Asian shops, but it's probably just a normal peeler. But you basically just peel the cabbage and it makes it super yummy and juicy. So I'd recommend trying that. The next meal I'm making is marbledofu, which is probably more of a Chinese dish, but I really enjoy that as well, and I think they eat it in Japan regularly. So I'm just browning some onions and pork mince, 500 grams of pork mince. Now I'm grating a chunk of ginger into that with my microplane. I'm now going to do the same with garlic, so I'm just going to grate that in my microplane. I think I added about 2 cloves of garlic. Now I'm adding some bean sprouts. So this meal is like a spicy pork stir fry with tofu, and you have it on rice. It's really tasty and the sauce is really nice. So now I'm just adding that cabbage that was left over from that other meal. So quite a lot of cabbage, but it does shrink down. You can also add bok choy into this if you want. So I'll just pick a couple of things from the garden to go in the marbledofu. So I'm thinking I will pick, if there's any silver beet, these little ones here, pick a few of these leaves. And it can be quite good just to pick a few leaves from each plant to help it grow. So here are the ingredients you need to make the sauce for the marbledofu. Mirin, soy sauce, spicy bean paste, miso, sesame oil, cooking sake, and oyster sauce. So, just starting with mirin. You need 4 tablespoons of mirin. You need 2 tablespoons of miso paste. 2 tablespoons of soy sauce. 2 tablespoons of oyster sauce. And 6 tablespoons of spicy bean sauce or marbledofu sauce. And then 2 teaspoons of arrowroot flour or corn flour, and then 2 teaspoons of sesame oil. So just mix that together well, and then just add about 4 tablespoons of water, but if you're wanting a runnier sauce, add a bit more water. So I'm just adding the sauce to the marbledofu, mixing it around, and as I said, I just added a little bit of water to that, just to my desired consistency. Now I'm adding in the chopped tofu. That's about 400 grams of tofu, and you can use soft or firm tofu. Soft tofu is nicer, but it does break apart a little bit. And then there we are, there's the marbledofu. Let it simmer for about 15 minutes on medium to low. I'm just serving mine with some cauliflower rice that I've frozen, so I warmed that up. But it's best served with rice, makes it really yummy. And then here it is, topping it with some spring onions and enjoying it. The next meal is Japanese curry. So I'm just chopping up some potatoes, carrots, onions and capsicum, and I'm actually going to make this in the slow cooker just because I ran out of time. Usually I would cook this the day before I want to eat it and let it simmer for a long time, get super yummy and thick and tasty, but today I didn't get the time, so I just decided to make it in a slow cooker and just not add too much water because the slow cooker does make it more liquidy, and it actually turned out alright, but I would recommend, if you're trying this for the first time, making it in a pot instead and simmering it for a long time. So here is some cooked chicken that I've already cooked. You don't need to do this, you could just add raw chicken into the slow cooker or into your pot, but I had some cooked chicken that I'd cubed up, so I just wanted to use that up. So I'm just adding my carrot tops and my peels of my onions into a bag that I'll put it in the freezer, and then whenever I'm making chicken stock, I'll just take those out, add them to the chicken stock, just to add flavour and nutrients and to use my scraps up. So here is the curry paste that I'm using. You can just buy this from Asian supermarkets, sometimes from normal supermarkets. It's just like curry blocks that have all the flavour that you need. So I'm adding a whole packet of those, so 8 little blocks into the slow cooker. Basically the more you add, the more flavourful it will be. And then I'm just adding a little bit of water. Now I would add a lot more water if I was cooking this in a pot. I would add it just to cover everything, but because this is going in the slow cooker, I know that a lot of water will be added just for the fact that it's cooking in a slow cooker, so I probably only added up to about a quarter to half of where all the vegetables and meat are. So giving that a mix. Now I'll just add it to my slow cooker, and I'll put that on low for 8 hours, 6 to 8 hours, or high for 4 to 6 hours. So after this is cooked all day, here is the finished product. As you can see, it's actually nice and thick sauce. That's because I didn't add very much water into that slow cooker. So there we go, it's on rice, a little bit of the curry and then the rice, and yeah, really yummy warming meal. And the last dish that I'm making is some sushi. So I have my seaweed or nori, I have some cooled rice there. I've just added this sushi vinegar into that and mixed it around and just tasted it to see where the taste should be. Here's a bowl of water to wet my hands. I've got my chopped up vegetables, carrots, cucumber and capsicum. Got some chopped up avocado. Here are some little thin slices of egg. So I just make a really thin omelette and chop that up. I have some ham there and some salmon. So I know that the ham probably seems a little bit strange. My husband really likes sushi with egg and ham in it, and I have had that in Japan before, so it is really tasty. But if you don't want to use the ham, you could just make an egg one or a vegetarian one, one with tuna and mayonnaise or chicken or anything that you want, other types of fish. So here I am just putting a layer of the rice 3/4 of the way on the seaweed. I'm then just adding some Kewpie mayonnaise, which is Japanese mayonnaise, but feel free to use normal mayonnaise. I'm adding some avocado. This one's going to be a salmon one, so I'm adding some salmon onto that. So you need to be kind of careful, I guess, not to add too much filling and rice, but also enough to make it really tasty. So I'm just adding some cucumber and capsicum into there, and now I'm going to roll it up. So I've just got my sushi mat there, and I'm just going to add some water, a little line of water to the top so that it will stick together, and then just roll it up. And there we go, there's the first sushi roll. Yummy salmon one. Make sure that it's all secure. And now I'm going to make the next one. This one will be the egg and ham. So again, just doing the same thing here, but just adding different fillings to it. Watching. I hope you enjoyed watching me cook today. I hope you'll try out some of these recipes and let me know what you think. And please like and subscribe if you want to see more.